So welcome to wilderness mapping. Sometimes we wonder, how can you create a map when there are no guideposts, when there's nothing out there, when you don't know what you're doing next? Because as we're growing up, we have school and we have the school schedule, and then we get out of school and we've got work schedules. What happens when there's no work schedule and you've got to create it from nothing? Luckily, there's some tools, and we're going to be sharing that with you today. So the first piece is just to know, welcome to the Tuesdays in the Boardroom. This is, we're going to be mapping your transition and making sure that when we map it, we engage our talents, our purpose, and our allies. Again, remembering that wilderness walking is spiritual. It is a time to be with God. It's a time to be productive and be guided. Again, remember, wilderness means sanctuary in Hebrew. Interesting, Moses and Buddha and Jesus all had critical periods of their lives in the wilderness, and they were told they were on holy ground. So the first thing is what we did in our prayer earlier. Just commit to the Lord this process. It's not just yours alone, and it's hard to remember that when it feels like it's all up to you to get it all done. A lot of the techniques we're going to talk about, if you take action in this regard, but keep God as the one who's actually in charge, it won't feel so heavy, and he can do so much more than we can with what we think is next steps. So the first thing in the wilderness, when you're in the wilderness, you have to set up structures that were not there in the old job, were not there in the old circumstance. So you need to gather resources, gather tools, and then prioritize next steps. So just imagine being in the middle of wilderness. Your job is to set up things that you're going to need in order to survive. Luckily, in the wilderness, manna comes every day. You may get bored with manna, but manna comes every day, particularly if you're looking for it. As J.R. Tolkien said, all we have to do is decide what to do with the time that's given to us. So mapping out using time is really critical. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Franklin Covey, but they are just brilliant. And being able to think about your time in 4 quadrants. Extraordinary productivity is not just about time management, it's about managing your decisions, your attention, and your energy. So there are 4 quadrants here. The quadrant 1 is necessity. It must be done. This is crisis, emergency meetings, last minute deadlines, pressing problems, unforeseen events. So things like you're moving, you have to move on certain things. It's a necessity. The house is closing next weekend, have to move. Q2 is not urgent, but it is important. It's proactive work, like important goals, creative thinking, planning and prevention, relationship building, learning and renewal, and recreation. These are not urgent, but they can be the most important pillars that we put together in the wilderness to support our transition. Q3 is not important and urgent, and good grief, there's a ton of that. Needless interruptions, unnecessary reports, irrelevant meetings, other people's minor issues, unimportant email, task, phone calls, status post, etc. That is Q3. Most of us live a lot of time in Q1 and Q3. Q4 is complete waste of time, trivial work, avoidance activities, excessive relaxation, television, gaming, internet, time wasters, gossip. Now, I'm going to tell you that there's some new research on gaming and playing games. So I want you to know games are more recreation, Q2. More on that later. So I don't want you to feel like you can't ever play a game, because gaming actually engages your brain in very important activities. But excessive gaming is what they're talking about, where you're just playing because you're not doing anything else. Margaret Thatcher said, plan your work for today and every day, then work your plan. So what we're going to be doing is sharing with you, and if Graham, you could go ahead and put some of these into the chat for people. I don't want you to get too distracted, but these are the game boards. First, you're going to have a map that's for 3 months, beginning to organize your time into quarters will be more effective. First of all, you will have more understanding of the C-suite and what they're trying to plan if you think in quarters, because they're required to report in quarters. So measuring and doing your activities in quarters is a good way to organize your time. If you can do it quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, great. We start 90-day games whatever month you're in, because you need to know you can start anytime. You don't have to wait 30 days to get started on a project. You start today. It doesn't matter when you are in the 3-month period. You can start anywhere. Another map that we give you is a week with boxes that you can write down the tasks that you'd like to get done. And being able, most importantly, to put every hour from 6 a.m. until 10 p.m. As you start mapping it out, you'll notice that from 9 o'clock Monday through Friday until 5 o'clock Monday through Friday, there's a big box that you can do. If you have a job, those are the hours that you give to someone else and they give you money. It's your time that you trade for the income that you make. So as you do a job search, understanding that if you can mark out 9 to 5 and understand that if you put that many hours into looking for a job, you'll be that much more quickly towards your end result. But even if you have a job, and from now on, any kind of job search you do, I want you to think about 9 to 5, I work for someone else. The other time I can use for building my career transition, right? It's an important perspective. But even if you're working 9 to 5, you're expected from 12 to 1 or 1 to 2, 11 to 12, whatever your favorite lunch hour, you're allowed a lunch hour. So if you're building your transition and you have a full-time job, from 12 to 1, Monday through Friday, you have 5 hours to build your career transition, 5 full hours to make phone calls, to make appointments, to take people to lunch, to be able to build your transition and build your allies and your team. You have 5 hours at lunch. Then Atlanta's very much a breakfast town. Being able to go from 9 to 10 or 8 to 9 or 7 to 8 and meet with people for breakfast, that's 5 more hours. You have 10 hours now to work on networking for your business. If you decide to have cocktails after work from 6 to 7, you've got another 5 hours. You've got 5, 10, 15 hours a week that you can spend, even if you're working full time, in your career transition. And then Saturdays and Sundays, you've got all day. I'm going to recommend, this is the kind of thing we do. We put in here things like, Friday night movie night, Sunday at church for several hours, exercise consistently every day. So mapping out what all of the areas of your life is a real important part of this calendaring. And these are your maps to play with, to plan. Do something today that your future self will thank you for. Actions and decisions today will shape the way we will be living in the future. And again, we've been talking about being able, this transformed my life when I made this box from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and realized this is the employment time. And I had all these other hours that I could craft something. The Artist Way is a fabulous book. It's going to be another one I suggest for your bookshelf, particularly if you have a creative bent, because it really does help you think about your career as a creative endeavor, even if you are not at all artistic. Great book. She had a quote in there: "In order to achieve escape velocity, we must learn to keep our own counsel, to move silently among the doubters, to voice our plans only among our allies, and to name our allies accurately." This is really important in the wilderness, because everybody, their brother, their sister is going to ask you, so how's the job search going? And your answer needs to be great. Because some people can hear the truth of your path, and some people it's really not helpful for them or for you. In the Bible, there's a quote, and I need to get the exact quote. It's about praying and keeping your plan secret. It seems counterproductive. You think you should be sharing. Yes, you should share, but you share with your allies. These are people who know that they're on your team. They're part of your tribe that are helping you, but not everybody needs to know what you're doing. And telling them what you're doing needs to be done in a certain way. So I just love that quote for that reason. So in this wilderness walking, having allies will help you map. So being able to identify them, some of them are mentors you've had, some of them are colleagues you've had, some are big sisters, big brothers, but identifying allies, sometimes it's the people that live close to us and sometimes it is not. Sometimes your mother, sometimes your sister, sometimes your brother, sometimes your spouse is the worst possible person to have as an ally for your job search. You may have them an ally in your family, but if you're suddenly having to be held an account for your activities in your wilderness walk, suddenly they become your parent and it may not be healthy for your relationship. So it's very important to choose who is going to be your allies. Sometimes it is somebody that is in your household, sometimes it's not. So we will be digging deep into how to identify these allies. We're going to be talking about mapping. Once we complete this video, which is going to be available for everybody, this group, the people who show up in person, get to have the big bucks help and big bucks conversations, because we'll be able to sit down and go through the maps in a few minutes. But just letting you know that where we are right now is about building your story. You've just found out what your winning formula is. You're getting ready to map out your project for the next 90 days on these maps that we've just given you. We're going to be able to then move into how do you build your narrative of what you're capable for, so you can talk with your allies, share with them the ups and downs of the whole process, but then how do you talk to the people that you go have coffee with, or you have lunch with, or you have cocktails with, or you have Zoom calls with, or you have phone calls with? How do you tell your story so that it's compelling and engaging, and that they think, oh, I could tell her about this person I know, or, oh, this has just come up in my department. How do you build that narrative that's compelling? Part of it's your winning formula. Part of it's what you're visioning in your mapping, right? So next week on this March 2nd, we're going to be talking about what is our capabilities narrative and what kind of marketing plan do we need. We'll have our maps. We'll start inputting onto our maps that information. March 9th, we will dig deep in identifying allies. Don't wait till March 9th to do it. Go ahead and start creating, I would suggest circles. Have you in the middle and then put circles around you. Jesus started with 12 and he changed the world. I'd suggest having 12 circles around you to fill in. You're going to need to have, for transition, you need to have somebody who can help you with accounting, with legal, with cheerleading. This is a very good structure. This is one of your circles, is being in this group. On the 16th, we'll talk about researching opportunities and uncovering your land of milk and honey. What is it that you're looking for when you get to the land of milk and honey? Right now, you're going to have a map to work in the wilderness. You're going to have allies to help you as we start identifying them. On the 23rd, we're going to really talk about activating these allies. Once we've identified them individually, how do we activate each of them to help them help you? On the 6th, we're going to talk about expanding reach, finding a path, not a solution, not here's the job, where's the path to the job. On the 13th, we're going to talk about interviewing skills. On the 20th, we're going to talk about negotiating skills. And then on the 27th, we're going to have a reunion and networking with people that were in other cohorts, coming back and sharing how they've been able to use these tips and tools to continue to navigate their wilderness, or talk a little bit about their land of milk and honey and what it's looking like so far. Sandbox Consulting Group is here to help wilderness walkers. We help you uncover your winning formula, unlock shortcuts, and unblock people gridlock, because there's going to be a lot of them who are not returning your emails, who are not returning your phone calls, who can't meet with you for lunch. How do you unblock that gridlock to make sure that your allies start working with you? And to, quite frankly, celebrate the path. You're going to have a lot of great, wonderful, exciting new things happen. But if all you're doing is looking as the final result is land of milk and honey, then you're going to feel like the wilderness has got no success in it. And remember, they were in the wilderness for 40 years. You're not going to be in the wilderness that long, but knowing that in that path, in the wilderness, there are things to celebrate, and they need to be celebrated for you and for other people to see there are successes. Knowing that we've got other tools that are available to you, you've done the winning formula for you in workplace collaboration. We have other assessments that can help you find your winning formula in management, in leadership, in sales and customer service, so you can get that winning formula to have a conversation with people in an interview and know what is it that you bring to the table. We also have other workshops, like we've got a quarterly mapping workshop that's going to be coming up on the 25th of March that you might want to kind of look at. It's going to be a group working with these forms, working with these plans in the wilderness. We've got a brand new workshop. It's not new. We've done it before, but we've retitled it the Bless Their Hearts Masterclass. This is the Southern tips and tools for managing conflict productively and producing surprising results consistently. Then we've got 5 behaviors. It's for personal development, 5 behaviors that activate teamwork in any project, even in a career transition. So this 5 behaviors helps you put together your ally group and help them help you through this wilderness walk. And this 5 behaviors are some tips, some very simple behaviors can help really make that work. So just wanted to walk you through all of that. Thanks for being here. I'm going to end the recording so that we can talk and chat.